Morning students, today we are going to discuss the next poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Before going to the poem, we are going to discuss about Robert Frost. So, Robert Frost, or we can say that Robert Lee Frost, was one of the popular and critically respected poet of his generation, and this poem was one of his most popular poem, which was written in 1922, and it get published in 1923 in his new volume New Hemisphere. So now about the poem, how did he get inspired is that in the about the woods and the snowy evening, he actually got inspired one evening when he was looking around the woods, and he thought of a poem which was, and he wrote this poem on a single night, which was a very tough task to do. Now we are going to discuss about the poem, and the first stanza has 4 lines which says, whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though he will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Stanza describe that the poet knows who is the owner of the woods, and he feel a bit relaxed that the owner is in the village, or his house is in the village, and the owner wouldn't see him stopping by here on this evening, and he could enjoy the natural beauty of the woods, or natural beauty of the snowy woods in the forest. Second stanza says, my little horse must think it here to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. In this stanza, the poet says that his dear horse, which he is using as his carriage, must think it strange to stop in between woods and frozen lakes on a dark evening. Because he always stop near the farmhouse, and here the darkest evening may described as many several options, could suggest several options or several things, like the darkest evening may, according to the poet, it may be the long journey throughout the evening he went through and he got tired, or it may also refer to the longest night of the year, which the poet wants to describe here. First stanza says, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flick. Means the horse is shaking its head, ringing his harness bell that is attached to it, and he is asking his master if there is some mistake or any problem, is there is any problem, because his master has never stopped in the dark woods, snowy woods, and he has always stopped his carriage near the farmhouse. So he has asked his master about the problem, and here also the poet has mentioned 3 sounds, 3 imagery sounds, actually it could be called also 3 imagery sounds, that is the first one is the harness bell, and second one is the light wind, and the third one is the snowy flakes. So in the third stanza, it has been only described about the horse ringing its harness bell to ask his masters, and the 3 imagery sounds he has mentioned above. The fourth stanza says, the woods are dark, lovely and deep. and but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So, in the last stanza, the poet has described the woods into three adjectives, that is, lovely, dark, and deep. And he wants to stay and enjoy the environment or the snowy woods for much longer time, but he had some duties or some responsibilities that he has to complete before he went for the sleep. In this stanza, the in this stanza, sleep may also refers to death. That means, in the poet wants to complete all his duties and responsibilities before he went for a long sleep, so he couldn't enjoy the environment or the woods in the dark. So he wants to keep his promises, and he feels very sorrow to leave the woods. What we get from this poem is that, according to the poet, our life must also has been compared to the woods, or they has been compared to the distraction or other temptation that from in our day to day life journey. So we should stay focused on our goals, and we should reach it on time, and without any distraction or temptation, we should complete all our duties and responsibilities before we die. So this conclude the poem of Robert Frost, and today we completed the second poem also. And if anyone is having any doubt, then you guys could contact me. You can contact me from the college group and ask me anything you want to ask about. Any doubt, I will clear it to you. Thank you. We'll meet you in the next class.